Greetings guys, welcome back to Dawn and Dreams. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you would, please make sure that you like and subscribe. Today we're going to get into a few things concerning bird signs, bird messages, and having a calling to the birds versus receiving ancestor messages with the birds. So I'm not going to be able to go over everything in this video, but I do plan to give you guys a little bit of a synopsis when it comes to the birds, because you guys know that I'm the bird lady. I want to formally introduce myself in this setting as EO by Priestess Ieisha, or just Priestess Ieisha. I am Priestess of the River Eagle. Most of you know I'm Lady of the Crow, so I'm pretty much a priestess of that too. I am Priestess of the Feathers, and what that means is I have the medicine of many birds, meaning I know wisdom on many birds. People often come to me a lot because they want me to translate messages or bird signs, and sometimes I can't help myself because that's just me. But essentially a lot of people need readings, right? Because things can't be interpreted just off a fly. Okay, so let's dive into that first. So first off, let me finish the introduction of myself. I am the founder of the Secret Priesthood of the Birds, and most of you have seen me post that lately. So yes, I've just founded that for people who need to initiate to the birds. I have been on this journey for 14 years, and at the 14-year mark, I finally was fully initiated. And so I go into the priesthood, and I talk more about that then. But again, this video will help those who feel like if they have a calling or if they're just receiving a bird sign. So hopefully I don't hop over too many places, because I'm trying to make this video quick and short. So yes, having a calling to the birds. How do you know if you have a calling to the birds? Well, my journey started at 14, and I was pretty much mobbed by crows. I wasn't feeding them. I had no reason or understanding of crows beyond what I've seen in movies, so I did not take it as a good sign. You could say that I really dislike the crows, and everybody who really knows me knows that. But everywhere I would go from there, they would continue to follow me all the way up into adulthood. And finally, when I kind of started my spiritual journey, or just investigating what was going on, that's where I got more information. I got information from a native teacher at the time. I got information later on, from my heritage, and it just kept getting deeper and deeper. And finally, I was able to piece together all the pieces. And it's so funny because when I was getting into like the spirituality and my ancestry, that's the first thing I said. I was like, it's the crows that gave me my first gift. And that sounds weird to say, but it's true. They were the ones to basically invoke that gift back into me, like the gift of knowing things ahead of time, because they were there the first time it happened, and I think they were there like at least twice when I would predict something right in the moment. I said something bad's gonna happen, and then literally I would give about 5 minutes and something would happen. And that's not always a good thing, but after that, they weren't with me, but I could still feel that energy of when something was going to happen. And it's like, did they just give me a gift? So yeah, so having a calling to the birds is a little bit different than receiving signs from birds. So when I opened up the priesthood, I noticed a lot of people who did apply, and no fault to them, or just people who were interested. Some people will just receive signs from ancestors. So there is a difference, because essentially birds are everywhere. Birds are everywhere. So bird signs and omens isn't just tailored to people who have a calling with the birds. Anybody can receive signs and messages from birds if you pay attention. Even a person who feeds ducks or anything every day, the ducks or whatever bird that you're feeding is going to rain favor on you. They're going to allow you to see messages certain days. Because that's just how it is. If you form a connection to nature in any sense, it's going to rain favor on you, and they will, allow you to see a gift. And sometimes the ancestors will utilize birds, because birds are like an international sign of the messenger. It doesn't matter if you're religious, doesn't matter if you're spiritual, they use birds primarily to receive signs. Now for me, it's different from the average person, because for me, I can see when a bird is getting like so-called possessed, meaning an ancestor is taking over that bird. Because I had that happen a lot of times when I'm doing like readings for people. There'll be a bird that'll come up to the door, and they'll just sit there and stare at me. And it's like, okay, I'm in the middle of talking about this, and you really want me to switch over to this? They're like, yes. They'll keep on just sitting there. There won't be any food. They'll just come to the window staring, and it's like I have to tell them, hold on, you have an ancestor coming through. Let me go ahead and channel this. And 100% of the time, it is an ancestor that they recognize or that they know. Now, and that's why I say that pretty much birds come through, and it's like, you know, most people consider it just angels. A lot of times it's your ancestors. But I'm not going to get into that because, again, it gets more religious in that aspect, and I don't take that away from anybody. But again, seeing birds, especially during times of difficulty or when someone has just passed, is a great indicator of certain things. Now, contrary to the belief, I'm going to get into a few birds. I think I'm going to touch on the hawk and the vulture. Contrary to the belief, people believe that vultures are associated with just death, and that's not true. If you are initiated into the birds, if you really know the bird wisdom, you know that, you know, the vulture represents many different things. That's just like saying, you know, I represent death. Like, that would be crazy, right? Because I represent many different things. You know, you have to get to know me, you know, and see what I'm about. Just because I do this a certain way doesn't mean I'm that way, you know, or that's just completely all of me. So, you know, it's a calling to understand everything about the bird, more than just what's put in Hollywood or, you know, on the internet. And this is how a lot of people misinterpret signs, because they just base it off of what someone else's interpretation of it is. Now, hawk spirit, like I said, contrary to the belief, typically comes around when there's an elevated ancestor. Because they came around in one funeral. I just talked to somebody who said the hawk spirit came for them, and they showed me a picture. She knows who she is. But yes, so the hawk spirit will come around to show you that, you know, an ancestor has been elevated. Typically, it's for a male spirit. You know, I normally see that happen for males. But vulture can come around during death too, but it's not a bad sign. It's actually a good sign as well too, because vulture is like in between two realms. They're in between the spirit realm and they're in between this realm. But seeing a vulture, to me, is always a good thing, you know, for the most part, unless they are telling me about something that's about to happen. But again, it's subjective to understanding the bird and having a greater wisdom to them. And that's the thing, the difference between people who have a calling, we will typically hear the messages from birds, from all birds, you know. People who have more so of a hobby with it, you know, you may just connect to songbirds or your backyard birds, which is still good, because songbirds, they bring powerful messages too. I remember one time, you know, there was going to be a car accident, and a bird hit the window. It lived, but it hit the window to let us know that ahead of time. So, you know, it gets deep, but, you know, just the simple things birds can tell you about and prepare you for, because again, they're divine messengers. So you don't have to be initiated to receive messages from birds. But at the end of the day, again, some people will be called to that greater wisdom, because it is the custodians of the birds typically who are translating messages. That's why a lot of people will come to me and ask, you know, Ms.Z or Ieisha, like, what does this mean? I don't know what this means. So again, some people need readings. And I think I spoke about that earlier. So let's get into a few things about if you need a reading. You typically need a reading if you see like the owl, you know. Owl is very subjective. A lot of people in different tribes, you know, associate it with evil. But it's not to be wrote off like that. You know, a lot of times the owl is just a messenger. So it's going to tell you things that come ahead of time. And of course, you know, I have my partner who's priest of the owl, and that's his medicine. So he can tell you a little bit about that. He also reads the bones. But we'll throw the bones on the situation and see what it is that they're trying to communicate to you. So if you can't communicate what the message is, get a reading so that you know, because it takes a lot for you to receive a sign, for you to pay attention to one. And it's also a lot for a bird of prey, because like I said, those birds are the more elevated birds. They're considered like the elders. So if an elder comes to you and says, hey, I need to talk to you, you're supposed to come over there and listen, okay? Because again, they need your undivided attention. Another bird that would call for attention for a reading would be, typically it depends, because if it's like right after an event, you'll kind of know, and there's no need for a reason for that. But if it's like hawk spirit, falcon, let's see, vulture, you can get a, because like I said, that's subjective depending on what it is. Crows, you don't always typically need a reading, but if it's something that you're having a hard time figuring out, again, going to someone who's a specialist will help with that. It's the same difference with, you know, being a doctor at home versus a real doctor. You know, that's somebody who studied that wisdom or who has a connection to the birds. They can hear what the birds are saying. and they can pick up on it pretty quickly. Like I can pick up on messages pretty quickly or read omens pretty quickly because I've been doing this since I was 14. I've been going through it since I was 14. Let me put it that way, going through it, because I surely didn't know when I was 14 what they were trying to tell me. But a lot of things happened after that, like a lot of just events. I think that's pretty much it as far as I want to wrap up. Let me see if there's anything else I want you guys to know. Another thing I want to bring up real quick is, again, feeling a calling versus getting signs, okay? So some things are cultural. Like for my family, even though, you know, most of them are Christians, if they see a red bird or a blue bird, they always blow kisses for good luck. So that's like a cultural thing, and I think that's a cultural thing for all Black people. Like we see, you know, a red bird or, you know, a bird of color, and it's special because you don't see it that often. But honestly, if you open your eyes, you'll see it every day. But you know, back in the day, if you seen like a red bird or blue bird, I would always catch my parents like blowing kisses to receive good luck. And that's all they would say. They didn't tell me why. They never had a reason why. It's just a luck bird. So that's just, I don't know, a hoodoo thing or a cultural thing, something like that. So again, you know, for them, it represents good luck. So because they're eternalizing that meaning, that's all it kind of will mean for them. But on a deeper level, if you know what type of bird it is, if you know like what the bird is doing, you know, I've had cardinals, red cardinals, show me signs of abuse, abusive relationships. So it gets real deep. But you know, essentially, again, those are fine too. There's nothing wrong with that. So again, if you see birds around, it's normal. You know, it's not, doesn't mean that you have to go and, you know, understand a greater wisdom. But I still recommend everybody pay attention to the birds because the birds have that connection to both realms. Vulture, of course, has the connection to ancestors and other things like that, but just all birds have a connection to being messengers, or for spirits especially. And ancestors, let me give you guys that too. Ancestors typically will take the form of a songbird or a backyard bird. Now, if it's something major, if it's a major sign like death or something like that, then they'll take over a bird of prey, you know, like, you know, if it's somebody that, again, if it's a funeral that just recently happened, normally it'll be a bird of prey or something truly big. Some ancestors will use bigger signs if they feel like you're not going to pay attention to something small, because most people won't. We'll just see them as a bird just playing around. We may not look into it that deep, but if you see an eagle, you know, flying in your face, you'll probably be like, okay, what is that? So sometimes messages can get deeper because you may not pay attention to the average message, okay? Let's see. I think that's about it that I want to give away for this video. If you guys like this video, if you want more, you know, short information videos, please let me know. And also give this video a like, you know, and subscribe, because again, you know, I base what I post based on you guys. So if I see that, you know, not a lot of people are interested, I'm just going to stick with what I'm used to. And, you know, I'll just make it available in a private setting if I have to. Also, thank you to everyone who applied for the Priestesshood or Priesthood. It's not, you know, tailored to male or female, because anybody can have a calling. But, you know, thank you to everyone who applied this year. If we have any openings, I definitely will put that out there, but we had to close down because we got so many submissions. But hopefully this video helps you to understand, you know, a little bit of the difference between having a calling with the birds versus, you know, just receiving a bird sign. And everybody should be receiving bird signs because they're the messengers of the earth. So you should pay attention to them, whether it's on just an everyday level or it's on a major level. And if you do have a calling, I encourage you to look deeper into that, because again, that means that you are one of their custodians. You are a bird, and you are supposed to be delivering messages. And also, let me mention that too. You can have all the clairs. You can have every psychic gift in the world, and you may not have a calling to birds, you know? So it's real specific, but at the end of the day, people who have bird callings could have connections to many animals, because birds connect to many animals. So it gets complex, but it doesn't make you less gifted because you're not doing this or that. You may have a calling to other spirits, like the wolf spirit or the wolf clan. So it's good to know your spirit animals, just period, because everybody has them for the most part. So if you look a little deeper into it, you can see who you're connected to. And again, there's no initiation needed for that. It's just diving deeper into the wisdom. But all right, guys. So again, like and subscribe, and peace.